So Phil, you just got your first WhatNot show underway last week.
Hmm.
You did phenomenal. What was it like to produce your first show?
It was it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think it kind of exceeded expectations. I don't really know what my expectations were going in, to be quite honest, but I can't complain about it. It was a lot of fun. It was I know what I think I would do differently and what I could do better, but it was enjoyable. Absolutely. Uh, I
So
was
okay, yeah. I mean, Kent and I were there. We supported you all the way through.
mhm.
I know you didn't have a lot of expectations going in, but you did pick our brains for a while and have some idea. So I would say you probably surpassed what expectations Kent and I were talking about with you.
Mhm.
Um, and then beyond that, I would probably ask you a second part of the question, which is what would you do different for your second show
Oh,
from the first?
so it had to do with the large allotments I was putting up,
Mhm.
the larger ones of like 10 books. It took a little too much time, and it didn't really work to how I envisioned it. I think it can in the future in a particular way. Um, Not to get into details of how I think it would work better, but uh, also what I would do is okay, there was two things. One of them was the allotments. The other ones I wouldn't have a 3 hour show. I'd rather do a 2 hour show. So it was
Even though I told you to do less books before you did
yeah,
it.
I know. I don't listen well. So,
I'll tell you what though, each lot you did, do you think that you spoke too much or just the right amount of time or
some of them maybe. I mean, it's gonna take me a little while. This was just getting my feet wet.
right?
Um, and right now I would like to just do probably two a month. I can't really handle anything more than that, anyways. And I think the space out is good. Maybe 2 weeks into the month, and then at the end of the month, just to keep the awareness that I'm still around and relevant to some extent. But obviously, I think the what's glaringly obvious is that I built my social platforms a little bit, so that did help quite a bit. A lot of people from YouTube were over there buying
Right.
as well. So it gave me an advantage, undoubtedly, that I had a little bit of a crowd, and you guys helped me as well. So, I had an advantage over your average person
Right.
just trying to do it.
Ken, how many? I mean, he had a solid 30, 35 people in the show, right? If I remember.
Yeah, at least 30, almost the whole show. And like part of it is people wanting to buy, and then also people are there for entertainment too. Some people just want to watch a show, even if they're not bidding and buying anything.
Well,
Mhm.
if they knew Phil, they were definitely waiting for the show.
And I think
But
part of what me and Max talk about all the time with Whatnot is bringing in new buyers because it is still a new platform. And a lot of the people that bought on your Phil show, they're going to other people's shows, and you will recognize a lot of the different names that are at all the book shows. And it is really important for people to be expanding and trying to reach out, whether if they sell on eBay, try to reach out to some of their eBay buyers to move over to Whatnot or your social media or wherever, your local customers even.
Mhm. Mhm.
To get bidding on there.
and I think out of the three of us, because we've talked about this a lot privately, but out of the three of us, I seem to be the person with the most hope for the platform. And then I think Phil is now steadily seeing what can happen. But Kent, you're still a little shaky on
I
its
think
future.
I have hope. It's just that I'm too busy and I'm doing eBay auctions.
Right.
Um, so one of the things we should probably talk about is like what makes a successful whatnot auction. And
Beautiful.
very similar to what I do on eBay is I am putting up a $50 book or $100 book or a $200 book, and I'm starting at a buck and getting people excited about buying. Me and Max watch a lot of different shows on whatnot, and a lot of people will price their book. They'll put their book up on there and they'll have a starting bid of $20, um, which sometimes is retail. Sometimes maybe it's a little bit of a good deal. But like with Phil, he started everything at $1. You had a few items sell for less than $10, but a lot of them were like 20 to $60. And you started them at $1.
I think my average sale, it said, or it didn't say, but it was like $22, something like that.
Yeah.
So, and there were some sleepers in there.
Right.
It was a good show.
But it was also solid. I mean, the whole 3 hours, I mean, you were selling books every 5 minutes. I mean, you don't get that when you own a bookstore. You don't get that. Here's what I love. You don't get that on eBay every 5 minutes. And the fact that you get to interact with your customer base, create a customer base and build a customer base, but be able to know who they are is something that we don't get on the other platforms.
And I think that I think eBay's been behind. I do like agree. You had made a comment before about kind of live auctioning being the future. And I've thought similar for a long time. I think the other platforms are behind, personally. And yeah, I would agree with everything. I would say though, somebody just starting out, I would still tend to say that eBay is probably a better bet starting out. But WhatNot has a lot of upside to it, and it's very interesting as to how it's gonna,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I think for someone new to the game of the business of bookselling, eBay is great because when you have to comp things out, you're learning about the books, you're learning about value. We all know this. There's a lot of people out there who are not familiar with the book business, and any book from the 1800s they think needs to go to Sotheby's. So I think there's a great learning curve that goes on when you do utilize eBay to learn how to sell books. And WhatNot, you can just throw anything out there and you're going to get an audience. But I think it doesn't really teach you the art of book selling.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yep.
I think I would definitely be doing what I did. I think I did 4 WhatNot shows so far, the last couple months here, and they were all really successful. I was selling like $200 to $400 per show. And again, I think some people kind of struggle because maybe they start prices out a little too high. They're starting things out at $10 opening bid on everything, and they're maybe only selling 5, 6, 8, 10 of their items. Whereas if you started them cheap, maybe some stuff would sell cheap, some would go crazy, and you'd sell it all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think though that the other categories other than books are the ones who pioneered and spearheaded the dollar. A year ago on WhatNot, you really didn't see this in the book market where books would start at $1. And through the other categories, I just think it's seeped into the book market. I think it's important not to be afraid to start at $1, depending on the price of the book you want to sell. I mean, my Monday auctions, all they start at $5, but 90% of the books sell for well over $100. And it takes a little bit of tough skin to deal with that, but you definitely grow out of it and get used to it the more you do it.
You do. Early on, I don't know if it was like this for you guys, but I would try to squeeze every dollar I can, and you start to learn it doesn't make a lot of sense to try to do that. They'll sit for a while, get them turning, get reinvested in better stuff. You don't have to give this stuff away, but well, with the auction, it's a little bit of a crapshoot, but don't be scared. But I'd say start it low. If you're nervous, wait till you build a bigger following and then put some better stuff.
And I think now, Phil, you're going to go out there looking for stuff, and you're going to be buying stuff for WhatNot, stuff that hopefully will get a lot of interested bidders. And you'll just buy it at the right price that it's not a risk to sell it on WhatNot and start it cheap.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a large allotment of a couple thousand books, you can, some will go to eBay, some will go to WhatNot. Also with eBay, some of the books that I put up, I delisted, and they had been sitting around for a while. They were good books. Not maybe spectacular, but they were good enough. And I think I got a decent price for them. I was happy with what I got for them. So stagnant inventory, it's a good way to move that out the door too.
And also, you know, people who have death piles of books,
Hmm.
whatnot is definitely a solution maker for them.
For
If
sure.
it, because so often, especially in the paper gold group, we hear about people just getting stuck because of the death pile of books. They can't get it out of their head. And if they utilize whatnot,
Hmm.
they're going to get out of that death pile quicker. Now they're not going to get the same amount of money that they may have envisioned getting, but they're also not going to put the same amount of work in through eBay as they would with whatnot. Whatnot is one or two pictures. Let's do a show and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, and that reminds me of I recently, the last several months here, I've been working on ending all my buy it nows, auctioning them off or putting them here in the bookstore. And a lot of them I would have priced for 50 or 75 or $100 or best offer. They've been listed for years. They've never got a single offer, not even a lowball offer. And then when I do go auction them off on eBay, I took new pictures and put new titles and everything to make it look like it was a new listing. And then still on eBay, it would only bring, some of them were bringing 2, 3, 4, $5 for something. I was trying to get 50 or $75. And the market that's just the market's way of telling me, this isn't an interesting book. It's not very saleable. It's not as exciting as I thought they were.
yeah, we need to talk about that. We need to deep dive on that point. Here you are pricing a book, you have an estimated value. We all do this. We have what we price it at and what we would probably take. Why do you think the books don't move on eBay? And I'm going to say like they did 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. There seems to be some sort of issue where a book that I would have sold 4 or 5 years ago has a harder time selling nowadays on eBay.
I mean, part of it I think is the market, even with like local antique stores I notice around here. The average person's going into an antique store or a bookstore, looking at the book that you have for sale for $100, and they're looking it up online to see if they can get a better deal. Or some people are waiting till they can find that $100 book that they want for their collection. They're waiting till they can find it for $35 and snag a really good deal. I think the market, people want deals. And I think the auction gives them the allure that there's a possibility of getting a good deal. That's my take on why things aren't selling. We're not selling the higher end books online right now.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. My brain's split on this all the time. Of why some of the higher end books are better material sits longer. And maybe it is people are just waiting for a deal. Um, at the same time, I don't like training people that they can get a 50% off deal with me. And so I don't accept it. Especially if it's a scarce title that, again, I've said before, if I don't have to feed it, water it, or walk it. So I don't really care if it sits a little while. But it's all dependent on the situation, I guess. Everybody's is going to be different. So in a couple years, though, I might say, I want to get this out of my inventory, recoup some money. The pick's paid for itself 5 times over. Get it out of here and get it down the road. So eBay's a funny thing. It irritates me tremendously. A lot of people make videos about it. To me, it's real low hanging fruit because it's really easy to talk about the negative aspects of eBay. But I would agree that the site has given me a lot of headaches. Spend this, and they never. It's slowly becoming more of an issue for me to where I think I could utilize a platform like whatnot to get stuff moving and get that capital flowing a bit more, where eBay can be a little stagnant at times. So and
Phil,
whatnot.
do you think part of the problem though, Phil, is 4 or 5 years ago there was less competition and now there's more competition in the book market on eBay? And like Kent says, people are looking for better deals. So it is what we're saying that eBay is turning into Amazon, which is with the penny droppers, as low as the book can go and then it sells. Is that what you're saying?
It maybe I tend to think so. If I'm not mistaken, which I don't believe I am, I believe eBay made more money last year off of their sellers and collecting fees than they did actual, sales that the buyers bought. They're pushing the promoted listings heavily. They want you to pay to play. Like they don't take enough from you already. Whatnot, you have a little bit more control. I always said at the end of the day, it's like we're working for eBay and Amazon, basically. And but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting on the other side of that, because what happens when Whatnot starts getting overly saturated?
Right.
Right now it's kind of like the Wild West, and it's exciting. And I think there's some money to be made there, which I'd like to utilize. But I mean, eBay and Amazon have stuck around for a long time and have been able to weather things. But I'd be lying if I said that I didn't see changes starting to happen and kind of affect sellers in different ways. So yes, there is maybe a little oversaturation, and maybe this race to the bottom is starting to transfer over to eBay a little bit more as well. So
And there's also more platforms now than there have ever been. I mean, whether it's eBay and Amazon, Whatnot, Macari, Etsy, Poshmark, right down the line. There's just more places to sell your books.
yeah, there are, and there's probably certain material like I've always heard the ones with Victorian bindings do really well on Etsy.
Right.
And even different types of books sell better on other platforms, I think. So it's interesting. I try not to personally stretch myself out too much. I like to hone in on one thing and then add to it as I can, just like with social media platforms. So it'll be my own little journey through this. It's going to be interesting. But I do see Whatnot as another tool to break up a lot of this. And I think it can be beneficial for a lot of people.
The more competition, the better. That's what I feel about it. I think we're in for a renaissance of book selling and book buying in the coming years. I think it's all gonna pan out and be great for booksellers. When you say some books are better in other markets, with Victorian bindings, Kent has sort of hacked that problem on eBay. I mean, Kent does his auctions at 99 cents, and whatever it sells for. But the beautiful thing, what Kent has done is he's built an audience. So if he does a YouTube show or an Instagram show, everything funnels back to eBay and his sales for him.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of building an audience, you want to talk about some of the benefits of why Whatnot maybe is better than some platforms, and also some things we want to improve? I think one of the things is fees are a little bit cheaper.
Is that 8% now, right? 8%?
Yeah. I think it's 8%, but then there's a payment processing fee, so it comes out to a little more than 10%. I think one of the things that I learned from listing stuff on Whatnot and preparing for an auction is it's definitely a lot more. I think it's faster, or it has potential to be faster than eBay. Of course, you are sitting there for an hour or 2 hours live on camera showing off the items. So that's kind of a cool benefit as well. I know on eBay, your eBay listings, you can post a video showing it off. But I think the Whatnot, people can ask you if you're showing off a book, people can ask you, hey, can I see the title page again? Or, they can ask you specific questions and you can answer them live.
Yeah, Whatnot gives you the interaction with your audience, which is just an incredible thing. When you get a repeat buyer on eBay, you get a little green word by the sale, repeat buyer, but there's really no interaction unless you make an interaction like I try to do and ask the buyer questions. But to be live on Whatnot and interact and grow an audience and be good at it and keep growing it, there's nothing else like that right now. And so I know that Phil and I have talked about this as recently as last week. Is Whatnot the future of book selling? I think that's the question.
I know, Max, at your shows, you always say that, hey, I'm bringing the bookstore to you.
Yes.
And same with Phil. When Phil was preparing for his show, he was live on YouTube asking people, showing them around the bookstore and saying, hey, what do you guys want me to sell? And people, he pulled a few titles and they all sold really great. So it is definitely the future. If someone doesn't, if maybe their nearest bookstore is 2 hours away, if they can sit on Whatnot and buy stuff. And then also there are people that sell on Whatnot that maybe they're at the Goodwill bins or they're in their storage unit or in their store and they're just walking around asking people, hey, what do you guys want to bid on?
I'd say it's hard to argue with in terms of it being the future. It was part, like doing my YouTube channel was part of the reason was similar, to show people the book in video form and make a connection with them and do business that way. And Whatnot does, it does do that, and it kind of, like you said, brings the bookstore to them. I think it's a powerful tool, and it's going to be very interesting to see what the future holds with it. I'm very optimistic about that. May I say one thing that I find that might be interesting? Kent has his physical bookstore there. You do have customers as well, Kent, in your physical bookstore that follow you on Whatnot.
Yep, I had a few, but I think they tracked me down because I shared it on the bookstore Facebook page. And I think the last sale I did, which was about a month ago, I think I had 3 local people bid on stuff and then buy it, which is a great advantage if you don't have to
Yep.
pay $5 or $6 for shipping your books. And then another thing that Whatnot really does great with a couple of the major benefits is they automatically charge the buyer as soon as they win the auction, automatically charged, and then also combined shipping. So if you're selling 3-pound books, maybe the first one's going to cost them $5 to ship. The next one, Whatnot calculates it as $2 for combined shipping, and then it goes down to 70 some cents, and then it gets cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. So that's a couple major benefits: is you're not invoicing, waiting for people to pay, hoping they pay, having non-paid items people's, and then also the returns process. I think Whatnot returns process is much stricter than eBay, where willy-nilly eBay will force a seller to take a return.
So just to back up a little bit on having the physical bookstore, it gives your own people that are visiting your bookstore a little bit of an advantage as well. If you were to put up maybe a little bit of a more sizable lot that you wanted to purge out to fill it with something else, it gives them a advantage over everybody else. I let no shipping fees. Like, I kind of like that, to still be able to, in another form, cater to your physical location as well. It's attractive anyhow. I think whether or not it'll be successful is another thing. And everything you said about the shipping and getting paid, the more you buy, the less the shipping and stuff. I mean, that is nice. So I do like that as well.
There's a lot of YouTube shows, YouTube channels, YouTube sellers who sell on eBay, and there's a lot of complaints about the current state of eBay. It's consistently growing. You don't see the same thing about Whatnot. The complaints on Whatnot, you just don't see the fire,
Mm-hmm.
the ashes.
I think the people running Whatnot have looked at eBay and Amazon and all the other platforms, and they're looking at the problems of these other platforms and they're fixing them before. They're very active in changing things and listening to seller feedback and trying to figure out how to make things better.
Yeah. I
So
think
that brings, yeah. Go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
and I just think that they're providing a better experience for the buyers. I think I got phone calls from a lot of people that bought from me and that joined in, saying that they really enjoyed the show. They had a lot of fun. They stuck through like the whole show. I mean, they really enjoyed it and they want to do it again. I just think that they're providing a really nice platform for any type of seller out there. It's kind of hip too, in a way. So
In 2024, this is a unique experience, a way to buy books. But we all know you can't stop technology. So in 2028, what does it look like? Are there going to be other platforms like Whatnot that are competing with Whatnot the same way Whatnot competes with eBay? I'm very curious to see how the foundation of book selling is going to shake out in the next year or two.
Max, how can these other platforms ignore it? That Whatnot keeps growing in buyers and sellers. Again, I think these other ones are a little bit behind the ball and I think they're going to try to catch up to it. But I don't know. If eBay was doing this, I would have jumped on with it.
Well, eBay has started. Kent, you can talk a little bit about that. I know you're more familiar with it than I am. They have is it a beta program they've launched?
Yep. So right now, eBay, they're very strict about who they allow to sell on their live auctions, and it's only very specific categories. I think like Pokemon and baseball cards, gold and silver, comic book stuff like that. Really, really popular hip categories. They're very strict. And then again, one of the things eBay just will not be able to compete with Whatnot, I don't think, because again, I think people bid in a very similar live video auction format. But then my understanding is someone wins that auction, and then the seller will send them an invoice, and hopefully they pay. Which, if they get caught up bidding, they're probably not going to pay. So
Yeah, we know that eBay has that issue, and Whatnot has cured that issue.
yeah, and same with returns. The
Right.
people can return stuff and cancel items
Yeah.
bidding on the live eBay auction format. I mean, I would like to give it a try if they do expand it. I just know that eBay, the way eBay's going to have a massive list of rules, and you're going to have to schedule at certain times, and there can only be so many going in certain categories. eBay will not be able to compete with what they're going to try, but it won't be as good as Whatnot.
Right, but the competition that eBay will bring to the table would be good for us sellers.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. It's also a good place to buy if you're a dealer and someone's purging out some books and you happen to find them. I mean, well, Kent, you do a lot of sourcing online more so than I do, but you've been able to get some pretty decent deals, right? I mean, you're buying.
Yeah. Yep. I bid on Whatnot. It varies how much I'm buying every week. And there's only a few sellers right now on Whatnot that are selling the kind of stuff that I like.
Mhm.
And I would say, like at Max's show today, I think I only bought one book of his show today. The other ones went more than I was willing to pay as a reseller. So I hope that is good for him. And there are some other resellers that won some of his items too, and can hopefully make a little bit of profit.
Kent, you're so cheap. Why can't you just bid more?
Sorry. Max, do you want to go through the list? So me and Max did a list of like how to be successful on Whatnot.
Well,
and
we gave it a name. You remember the name?
Yeah, Whatnot, what to do's.
What to do, whatnot.
Oh, and we don't have to I don't have the list pulled up, but we can go through some of the things that will help you have a successful show.
Do you remember them all, Ken? Because I don't remember all of them.
No, I don't. But okay, so there's a few. First, you want to try to gain some followers. So you can follow a bunch of other people. You can go into other people's shows and kind of say, hey, I have a book sale coming up. And definitely follow. So if you're selling sci-fi paperbacks, go to the other sci-fi paperback shows and try to see who's buying in there and try to get some of those people to follow you.
Yeah, you do have, I mean, that's one thing we need to be clear about. You do need to begin to build an audience. You just can't do a Whatnot show and having no followers and decide to do a show. You have to put a little prep time, or what I call digging ditches, into getting followers into your shows.
Yeah, when you schedule a show and get your items loaded up and everything, Whatnot has a little share button that will allow you to share with your followers. And the more time you spend sharing your show, the better, more successful it's going to be. It's just a direct correlation.
And then also, I know that you and I are big fans of being in your show early. If your show's at 4:00 p.m., don't come in at 3:58. Try to be there at 3:45. Interact with the people early. Get to know who your prospective customers are. Get a little chit chat going. Maybe somebody has questions already about some of the books in your lot, and just having that air of conversation before a show makes for a smoother show.
And I think that really helps because when you go to like the book category or the Pokemon category or whatever category, it's kind of like a lobby where you see, okay, these shows are running right now. They all got the red live light on. And then also you scroll down and you can see the ones that are coming up later that day. So like when I'm watching and bidding on different shows, I will see someone at one show that I'm watching. I'll go to another show and then they'll be over there. People are hopping from show to show to show to see what all the different sellers have.
Yeah, as we're speaking right now, I'm looking, there are 4 live book shows right now, and it's 6:35 Eastern time with me, but there's 4 live book shows. I think that's just a tremendous plus for the marketplace going forward.
Yeah, and I think like closer to I'm Central Time, so it seems like 6 to 8 Central Time, there might be 8 or 10 or 12 book shows going at any one time.
Well, and I'll tell you this, I'm looking at one right now. There's a show going on from the United Kingdom.
Wow, they're expanding over there.
So what is that? What is that going to do if Whatnot expands internationally and they can figure out the shipping issues? I think there's no stopping booksellers.
Mm. I'll be buying shares into the business. It's exciting. It's very interesting, but I think they're ahead of the game a little bit.
So Phil, I know that you and I talked previously about how many books for someone to do in their first show, and I know you and I went back and forth, and I tried to convince you to do 30, and I tried to convince you the next day to do 30, and Phil didn't want to listen to me. And what did you end up doing, like 50?
No, I had wanted to do 50, and then actually that day I talked with you, I was like, I'm gonna do 50, and you're like, well, maybe you're at like 40. So, and then I did decide, I said, you know what, let's just let it roll right now. So I did 39 actually. I took one off for a future show.
Mhm.
And really I think a lot of the holdup, it is has the tendency, it may go a little longer than you expect. I probably overdid showing some of this stuff, but you know, my brain is so wired that I really want to make sure that they know what they're buying. But I probably overdid it. The lots took a lot of time. I didn't need to take as much time with the lots. So I forget the original question you asked, but it was a long time.
Yeah, for someone who's going to do their first book show,
Mm-hmm.
I think 20 to 30 books, in my opinion, is a good number to start at. I
Yeah.
think anything over 30, because what you don't realize when you do it is you're talking the whole time.
Oh yeah.
People are in the chat room with you, but you're
Yep.
talking the whole time.
Yeah, obviously I don't have a problem talking. I run my mouth a lot, but it is for your average person. I mean, I was exhausted. Well, you wouldn't think it. I think I called Ken up afterwards and chatted for another hour, and then my buddy in Kentucky for another hour. But it is a lot. I would say do 20 or to 25 till you get it under your belt and used to it. And the chat can be a little distracting. I tried my best to keep up with it.
You did a
But it
bad
definitely
job, Phil. You did a bad job.
did.
Early
I
on. People, Kent and I were laughing because people were tipping you, and you didn't even know they were tipping you.
I didn't. I had no clue, and I
You owe
did
some
over.
thank yous to some people. You owe some thank yous.
I messaged the ones that I saw, like, but I didn't. Yeah, I did not realize it. I chugged the beer after the one book hit over 100, and I got a tip. So I was like, all right, I might
And
do
Laura,
this
hold
again.
on. Let's make sure our audience realizes that's not going to happen every time he sells a book for 100.
No, I
This was a
texted
one-time thing.
I texted Phil and I'm like, that might be against WhatNot rules. You better check. I don't think you can be drinking. I don't think they allow nudity. There's a few rules that you might not want to break.
I broke them all that day. But people had fun. You know, they had fun. And it's fun talking to the chat. Just my thing is just be yourself and relax and have some fun. But yeah, I would agree completely with you to build your try to build that following and get people over there, because to do it fresh.
That's such a great point that I want to jump on a little bit, is to build that following, because one of the things that I talk about all the time in the Paper Gold podcast is, to me, it's like the hour that you choose or the 2 hours that you choose, that's your plot of land.
Mm.
And can you make that your plot of land for the next 3 years? Where everybody knows Phil has a show at 8 o'clock on Friday nights. I'm going to go tune in because that's Phil's plot of land. So I think it's very important to get those followers, keep the same time, and build in that same time slot.
Max, could I ask you a question? Get your opinion on
Yeah.
something here. Now, you're running you said like 4 shows a week now.
Right.
And you're doing great on it. For me at this moment, I want to space them and make it kind of more of an event and not burn people out. But do you think that just the bigger your following gets, the more ability it is to maybe run shows that
Yeah.
frequently?
I say this to Kent all the time. Matter of fact, probably daily when I do a show. I am always getting new buyers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always surprised how large WhatNot is. I don't even, I think it's a lot larger than we think it is. A lot of us, we have a gathering of the same people all the time. A lot of the same people come to all of our shows, but there's always three, four, five new buyers I get. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know if they've always been around and they just found me, but I'm starting to get the feeling that WhatNot book audience is a lot bigger than we give it credit for. I think we minimize it because it's new for us,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been around for several years already. Um, I think there are people who've been on WhatNot for a couple years. They may not be as excited about it as we are, as newer booksellers, and they finally come around to us when they find us. But I haven't had a show where I haven't had a new buyer come into the show and buy something. So
I
that
see.
that shocks me with what the potential down the line is going to be.
Cool. Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think you know, if you check out Whatnot on a Thursday or Friday night, there's probably a couple hundred different people bouncing around between the different shows. Some of the better shows will have maybe 18 to 35 people watching. The less exciting shows will maybe only have 2 or 3. And you are competing, like you need to have the quality product and have the deals to get the higher numbers at your show.
Mhm.
We can't stop without really talking about that. I mean, I know we talked a little bit about starting at $1, but good inventory is always going to sell. And you can't covet the books and the price. You have to allow the market to determine the price that day and that show. And whether you start at $1 or $5, I'm very comfortable with letting the marketplace and the buyers decide what the price is.
Mhm.
Well, and Max is a brave man. Do you want to talk about your couple books that sold over around $800?
Yeah, well, these are books that, of course, I could not put on eBay. Easton Press, Adolf Hitler, Mein Kampf. I've had 2 copies of those in the past 3 months, and each copy sold for over $800 on WhatNot. I was not allowed to sell them on Amazon or eBay, so I chose WhatNot. And is scary as this could be for a lot of people, Kent will tell you I started it at $5.
Mhm.
And I did a little advertising on Instagram and a little advertising on Facebook with it, but they've both been successful. I mean, 800, $1,600 in 2 books. They went to good homes, and in the end and ultimately, I just want to move. I'm not a collector. I love books. I love to hold them. I love to research them, but I don't want to collect them. I've been into too many people's homes where someone's passed away, the book collector has passed away, and they've left the burden of their book collection to their loved ones. I've seen it for too many years. So I just like to move books and make people happy who want the books.
You know something, I really like it. I put up some erotica stuff and some Black Americana, and I didn't have to worry about the regulations. Just recently I was trying to list a rifle book manual,
Mhm.
and it just seems like every year eBay gets more and more restrictive. and you got to play a word game with your title to get the book listed.
Right.
And it's absolutely ridiculous. So I'm glad that thus so far whatnot is not like that.
Yeah.
It makes it a little easier. So
Yeah, and you know what, I also want to say, in case anyone from eBay is ever watching this, if we produce this, we're not trying to be negative on eBay. We're trying to help eBay become better at what they do. Um, and you know, there's a lot of angry people out there. They're all on YouTube making videos. I'm still a big fan of eBay. I love what they've done for me in my life. But eBay definitely has some issues in the book market for sure. Um, and one of these days, I would love for them to call us up and have a roundtable discussion of how can we do better at what we do. But
Maybe we need to, maybe the three of us need to make a video saying everything we love about eBay, because all the videos about eBay on YouTube are all hate. It's all hate. And there are, I am so blessed with my
yeah,
following on eBay, and like the living it allows me to have and sell everything and make a decent living. Um, it is great. Obviously, there's things to improve, but maybe we should make a video about all the things we love about eBay.
I think that, you know, we're kind of doing that. I mean, we all love eBay. You know, eBay is our main income on books. But at the same time, we do have a level of frustration, and we do not feel like we're being heard, which is the most important part to me. Um, when I call customer support, it's a crapshoot about with what kind of answer I'm going to get.
the,
Um,
the,
and it never used to be that way. It
the
used to be
service
fixable problems.
the service used to be better
Yeah.
with that. You know what, and that's one aspect too, you know, not to be all negative on eBay. I know we're not, but it's gotten progressively worse. It's a crapshoot, like you said.
The customer service is definitely, it's a labyrinth to navigate around, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah. I'm not giving up eBay anytime soon either, but I might sit out for that positive show. I'm joking. I won't. I'm joking.
Well, now at some point, Phil, you could sit in your bookstore for 8 hours a day, on a Sunday or Tuesday or whatever, and just sell books all day long. Max, how long was your crazy show?
I did a 7.5 hour show about a month and a half ago on WhatNot on a Sunday. And 7.5 hours, I just kept doing add-ons to all my lots. So you really didn't know what was coming. It was like, you know, a crazy show with add-on books at all times. I think I did, if I remember correctly, I did over $2,000 in 7.5 hours. But on Monday, I was done. I was done. There was the shipping. The shipping was just too much. The shipping was too much.
Yeah, that's got to be exhausting.
But the beautiful thing about it, and this is what I like about it, is WhatNot gives you the platform to if you want to go for 5 hours, you can go for 5 hours. You want to go?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
nowhere else you
yeah.
could do that.
My
Nowhere
show
else.
today, my show today was 12 books, 45 minutes, and I just did under $700 in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You just can't beat that. And so it brings me back to the original question. Is this the future of book selling? Let's close out with this question. Is this the future of book selling?
Yes, but it will require people to be brave. Like Phil put up some really good books.
Mhm.
A few of them sold cheap. Most of them did pretty well. So you definitely have to be brave to go this route. But the live auction, if someone comes into my bookstore with 10 boxes of books, I could do a whatnot that afternoon,
Yeah.
sell them all, have a bunch of cash, make a nice little profit, and not have to price them and put them in the bookstore and wait 3 years to sell them. Not put them as on eBay as buy it nows and probably never sell them. So
Yeah. I'd agree with you. I would tentatively say yes. I
but
think
me and Phil are busy. Me and Phil are kind of busy. We have bookstores and online. We don't have a ton of time.
yeah, you know, that's why I'm trying to also figure out how other ways to utilize whatnot. Like maybe if I build my platform on WhatNot, I can bring in somebody else to help me sell on it or have their own show and I get a percent. I mean, there's a million different ways to do this. So I like the platform. I would say, yeah, it's looking like it could be the future. And the whole bravery thing with $1, if you're out there trying to learn the business or buying big lots, you just got to make sure that you buy the material right. And if you buy it right, you can afford to risk, so to say, some of it. But anyhow, that's just my 2 cents on it. But,
In the end, you know, let the public decide what the value of a book is. Not every comp you find,
mhm,
your book does not have to meet that number. Sometimes, you know, if someone sold a book for $150 and you have the same book, maybe that $150 buyer doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Just because it reached at one time. If someone offered me 100 for that $150 book, 99.9% chance I'm going to take that offer.
mhm.
Yep.
And so there's a beautiful aspect on letting the marketplace decide prices.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think we should wrap it up there. You know where I'm going to go though. I would love to continue this. I would love to have a show with the two of you where people can ask us questions on YouTube and pick our brains and ask us questions about books. I mean, I know that my Instagram is always flooded with questions. I'm sure yours are as well. And you know, it might be cool to bring the three of our opinions and our experience to the marketplace and let people pick our brains once a week or maybe just once a month. But I'm gonna throw that challenge out to you and we'll see what happens later.
Okay, you come up with a good title, okay?
I'll have it in 5 minutes.
All right, good talking to you guys.
Gentlemen.
It's fun. We'll see you guys. Thank you.